guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Alex the Trucking Guy. Today I'll be explaining some pre-trip inspection and some keynotes and keywords, key phrases to help you successfully pass your pre-trip at the DMV. Remember, anything that's rubber or any hoses, you have to remember no ABC, no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. Anything that's metal, a key word is no illegal welding. Anything that's plastic and has liquid, it's not leaking. Anything that is metal and has fuel in it, it's not leaking and there's no illegal welds. Formula number one would be in good, whatever it may be, it's in good working condition, it's not cracked, bent, or broken, it's properly mounted and secured, and there's no missing hardware. Formula number two, the item is in good working condition, it's not cracked, bent, or broken, there's no illegal welding, properly mounted and secured, no missing hardware. Formula number three will be in good working condition, not cracked, bent, or broken, no illegal welds, and not leaking, properly mounted and secured, no missing hardware. Your last one would be in good working condition, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking, properly mounted and secured, no missing hardware. Good luck. The top lights, they're my ID and clearance lights. They're in good working condition. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no moisture or condensation inside. They're properly mounted and secured, and there's no missing hardware. The front windshield is in good working condition. It's not cracked, chipped, or broken. There's no illegal welds or illegal stickers. It's properly mounted and secured, and there is no missing hardware. The rubber seals are not ripped, torn, or frayed. They're properly mounted and secured, and they're not missing. The headlights, they're clear in color. They're in good working condition. There's no moisture or condensation. They're not cracked, chipped, or broken. Properly mounted and no missing hardware. Now the indicator lights, or my turning signals, they're in good working condition. They're amber in color. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. They're properly mounted and secured, and there's no missing hardware. My plates are clean and visible. They're properly mounted. There's no missing hardware, and they're up to date. The bumper, it looks good from side to side and front to back. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and there's no illegal welding. It's properly mounted and secured onto my frame, and there's no missing hardware. Underneath the truck, there's no hanging hoses or hanging wires. There's no puddles or leaks. The truck's not leaning from side to side. There's no suspension problems, and there's no tire problems. Now my hood, it's clean and visible. It opens and closes correctly. It's not cracked, chipped, or broken. There's no illegal welds. It's properly mounted, and there's no missing bolts. The latches are in the lock position. They're on both sides. They're not cracked, bent, or broken, properly mounted and secured, and there's no missing hardware. The alternator, it's belt driven. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. No illegal welding, properly mounted onto the engine and not missing any bolts. The wires are not exposed. They're in good working condition. They're not ripped, torn, or frayed. They're properly insulated. There's no illegal tape. They are secured on both ends, and there's no missing bolts. They're away from the hot engine parts, and there's no burn marks. The belt is in good working condition. It's not ripped, torn, or frayed, and has no more than 3/4 inches of play, and is properly mounted. The pulleys are in good working condition. They're not damaged or missing, and there's no illegal welding. They're properly mounted, and there's no missing hardware. The fan clutch, it's belt driven. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding. They're properly mounted. They're not missing any bolts. It operates air into the radiator radiator to keep cool when needed, and it's attached to the engine. The fan blades are in good working condition. They're not cracked, chipped, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, and not missing any bolts. And it helps keep your engine and radiator cool. The window washer reservoir, it's not leaking, it's in good working condition, it's not cracked, bent, or broken, properly mounted onto my frame, not missing any bolts, and the fluid is at the proper level, and it is checked daily. The cap is properly mounted, it's not missing, nor damaged, nor leaking. The rubber seal is not damaged, missing, or leaking. My hoses have no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. They're not leaking, and they are secured on both ends. The wires are not exposed. They have no illegal electrical tape. They're secured on both ends. They're properly insulated, and there's no cuts or burn marks. The frame is clean and visible. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding. The hoses are properly mounted and they're not missing any bolts. Now we're going to go to the driver's side. So on the passenger side, we ended with our hoses and our wires. On this side, we're going to start with our hoses and our wires. Okay? So for our hoses, you have to remember no ABC. That's a key word. No abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. Okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and start. My hoses, they have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. They're not leaking and they're secured on both ends. Now my wires, that's the second thing I'm going to talk about. They're not exposed, they have no illegal tape. They're secured on both ends and they're properly insulated. There's no cuts or any burn marks. Now I'm going to go to my coolant reservoir. Anything that has liquid, remember no leaks. So my coolant reservoir is in good working condition. It's not leaking, it's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's properly mounted and secured, and there's no missing hardware. It's also checked daily to make sure it's at the proper level. The cap is on there properly. It's not missing or damaged, nor leaking. The rubber seal is not damaged or missing. Now we go to the power steering reservoir, which would be similar to the water coolant reservoir. It's also in good working condition. It's not leaking. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's properly mounted and there's no missing bolts. The fluid is at the proper level and is checked daily. The cap is on there properly. It's not missing nor damaged nor leaking. The rubber seal is not damaged or missing. Now I go to my oil fill. My oil fill is in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It doesn't have any illegal welds. It's properly mounted and not missing any bolts, nor it's leaking. My cap is properly mounted. It's not missing nor damaged nor leaking. And the rubber seal is in good working condition. It's not damaged or missing. Now I'm going to go to my oil dipstick. Remember, you can check this oil dipstick. You don't have to do it at the DMV, but you'll take it out. You'll explain it to them. You'll take it out. You'll wipe it, insert it, take it out, and make sure it's at the proper level. But that's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding. It's properly mounted, and there's no missing hardware or bolts. The cap is properly on there. It's not damaged nor missing, and it's not leaking. The rubber seal is not damaged or missing. Now I'll go to the water pump. The water pump is in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding. It's properly mounted and is secured onto my frame and my engine. And it's a belt-driven compartment. The belt is in good working condition. It's not ripped, torn, or frayed. Has no more than 3/4 inches of play. My pulleys are not damaged nor missing. There's no illegal welding. It's properly mounted and there's no missing hardware. Now, there's 3 things underneath the engine that you cannot see. That's your air compressor, your power steering pump, and your governor. First, I'm going to go ahead and start with my air compressor. It is gear driven. It's not leaking. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welds, properly mounted and secured, and there's no missing bolts. Attached to my air compressor, I have my governor. The governor is also gear driven. It's not leaking. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welds, properly mounted, and there's no missing bolts. The power steering pump, it's gear driven. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's in good working condition. It's properly mounted and secured, and there's no missing hardware. From there, I'm going to go to my steering column. My steering column is in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, and not missing any bolts. And that's secured on both ends with my U-joints or U-bolts, and they're properly lubricated. The steering boot is in good working condition. It's not ripped, torn, or frayed. It's properly mounted and secured on both ends and not missing any hardware. Now I go to my steering gearbox. It's gear driven. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, no missing bolts, and it's also not leaking. Now I'm going to go to my pitman arm. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welds, properly mounted, and not missing any bolts. Now my pitman arm is held with my cotter pin and castle nut, and they ain't damaged or missing. The rubber seal that's right down there that holds my pitman arm, my drag link, and steering arm is properly lubricated. It's not damaged or missing. Now I have the drag link. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, and not missing any bolts. The steering arm and the castle nut, they're in good working condition. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, and not missing any bolts. The pitman arm, drag link, and steering arm are secured by a castle nut and a cotter pin. They are not damaged or missing. The rubber seal between the steering arm and the drag link is properly lubricated and not damaged nor missing. The hanger and spring mounts, they're in good working condition. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted onto the frame and not missing any bolts. The leaf springs, they are not shifted. They're in good working condition. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, not missing any bolts. The U-bolts and shackles are in good working condition. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, not missing any bolts, and there's no rust buildup. The shock absorber, they have no leaks. They're in good working condition. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted and secured on both ends, and they are not missing any bolts. Now I go to my brake line or brake hoses. Don't let it scare you because it's still a hose. You're looking for no ABC. Okay? No abrasions, bulges, or cuts. But they're in good, my hoses or my brake lines, they're in good working condition. There's no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. They're not leaking and secured on both ends. My brake chamber, it's not leaking. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welds, properly mounted, and all hardware is present. The brake chamber is secured with a C-clamp. It's not missing or damaged, and is properly mounted and secured. The slack adjuster and push rod, there's no more than 1 inch of play. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, not missing any bolts, and secured by the cotter pin. My brake drum, there's no residue buildup. It's no less than a half of inch of life. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and there's no illegal welding, properly mounted, and all hardware is present. The brake pad, the brake lining, or the brake shoe, it's no less than a 1/4 inch of life. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, and all hardware is present, and there's no residue buildup. Now I'm going to go on to my tire. I'm looking for ICD, inflation, condition, and death. The inflation should be written on the tire, and set to the manufacturer's specification. The condition of the tires should be evenly worn, no recaps, no rethreads. The side walls have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. They're not leaking, and my depth on my front tires is 4/32 or 4/32. The air valve stem is in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, and all hardware is present. There's no leaks and there's no funny sounds. I checked the air pressure with the commercial size air gauge. The rim is true and round. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted, and all hardware is present. The lug nuts, they're all there. There's no rust buildup. There's no shiny threads. Those are indications of looseness. They're properly mounted and secured, and there's no missing hardware. The axle seal or the oil hub is in good working condition. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal welding, properly mounted and secured, and all hardware is present. It's not leaking, and the oil is set to the correct amount. Alright guys, that's section 8 for you. Make sure you study it up, you know your formulas, and you know what to place with what. Remember, identify it. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, not bent, not broken, properly mounted and secured, no missing hardware. If it's metal, same thing. It's in good working condition. It's not cracked, not bent, not broken, no illegal welds, properly mounted and secured, no missing hardware. If there's anything that has liquid, it's also in good working condition. It's not cracked, not bent, not broken, not leaking, properly mounted and secured, no missing hardware. If it's metal and it has liquid, it's in good working condition. It's not cracked, not bent, not broken, not leaking, no illegal welds, no illegal welding, properly mounted and secured, no missing hardware. If it's any wire, it's in good working condition. It's not bare, not exposed, it's not spliced. There's no illegal tape and secured on both ends. If it's any hoses, they're not bare, not exposed. I'm sorry, if it's any hoses, there's no ABC, no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, not leaking, secured on both ends. If there's anything that's rubber, it's not ripped, torn, or frayed, properly mounted and secured, no missing hardware. Okay? Anything else? Any windows, any mirrors, they're not cracked, chipped, or broken. Keyword, no illegal stickers. Properly mounted and secured, no missing hardware. Best of luck to you guys, and remember, every section has a coupling system. Good luck.